All right, we will go ahead and get started. First off, I just wanted to say thank everyone for taking time out of their schedules to listen in for the first Tennessee Sustainable Spirits webinar of the series. This title for today is Producers Reengaging with Customers. We have a very good group of presenters that are going to be giving us a little bit of information about ENERGY STAR, the Tennessee Distillers Guild, and some other things with re-engaging back to customers after this COVID-19 pandemic. So I wanted to first introduce Mark Valencia. He is an environmental scientist with the Office of Policy and Sustainable Practices at the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. He is the brains behind the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits program. So first what we're going to do is he's going to sort of host this webinar for us and explain a little bit about the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits program. So without further ado, I will pass that on over to Mark Valencia.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate that, Caleb. Like Caleb said, I'm Mark Valencia. I'm an environmental scientist with the Department of Environment and Conservation, Office of Policy and Sustainable Practices. Caleb, who's been doing all the technical stuff on our side, is from the same office as well. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank Caleb for all the help that you do. I really do appreciate that. And I guess I should owe you a sustainable spirit when this is all done. And that was a really crappy joke, and I really apologize for that. Just shoot me now. So I think we should just start with the presentation. So the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits Program is a program that we developed based off of what's going on with other programs in other states. It's a program that's funded through the EPA Pollution Prevention Grant. And with that, we try to reduce pollution while promoting sustainability throughout the spirits industry. So whether it's a brewery, winery, winemaker, or distillery, we are working on a way to reduce pollution in a way that's through a volunteer program. So that's kind of a quick rundown of what this program is. A quick little overview. Tennessee Sustainable Spirits is a voluntary program that assists wineries and wine growers, breweries, and distilleries in increasing sustainability by promoting best practices, providing technical assistance, and developing relationships. So that's kind of everything we do in a nutshell. It's a little bit of everything, and we'll get right into it. So with being a member of this program, I got to emphasize that this is a free program. It's free to any producer in the state of Tennessee. If you're not in the state, there's still a lot of information in this webinar that can help y'all just promoting sustainability throughout facilities. So with membership to this program, you get access to this beautiful logo we developed right here. It's a way of promoting that you're a sustainable spirit inside Tennessee. It's a way that's showing that you're recognized through the Department of Environment and Conservation as a sustainable spirits producer. With that, you also get recognition through our website. We're working on developing articles of our members and new members. No matter what, as long as you're a member, we also provide free technical assistance. So we'll go a little more in depth on the technical assistance, but we list recommendations, and if you would like to pursue any of those recommendations, we can assist you with getting there or helping you, go through the weeds of that, whatever idea that you have that you'd like to implement. Anytime there's a new member, we like to recognize them, and every year we like to hold an event where we have a press release. Our press release gets fairly good pickup. I know last year local news area channels picked it up and ran some stories on it, and this happens every year. So once a year we'll host an event, and this is where we recognize all the new members, and you get presented with your certification and all that good stuff. We also have a vast amount of resources on our website. So if you're ever interested, I encourage you to check it out. We're always trying to update it and add additional information on there. And if anyone has anything they'd like to share, I would love to see it and add it as well. So some of the promotional items, this is just discussing, a way to get the word out, and it's a way to display that you're a sustainable spirits producer. So every member gets that beautiful window cling that's right there in the middle image. So you get to display that proudly at your facility, showing that you're a sustainable spirit. We also have some coasters on the right. Those are coasters made out of recycled tire rubber. And then on the left, we have some bottle hangers for that you can display on your products. And the bottle hanger is actually made out of seed paper. So whenever you're done using it, you can actually use it to grow wildflowers with it. We're always trying to think of promoting in a way that we're still sustainable. So with membership, you have to fulfill a certain range of things to become a member. So with some of the requirements, it's going to involve water conservation, reducing air and water pollution, increasing waste reduction, so less going to the landfill, and expanding community involvement. So what we mean by that is going above and beyond for the community that you're in. So whether it's hosting a cleanup event or providing space for communities to gather and have meetings, there's all kinds of different ideas and ways you can fulfill that need. So the application process, there are 3 things that we need to receive before we can start to continue through the application process. So we need to get an application from the producer. We need to get their utility data and their production data. Now, if this is something that may take some more time, we can understand, we can move forward with it, but we will need that eventually. So you would submit an application, you'd submit your utility and data production data, and then you would submit a checklist. That's the 3rd item. The checklist is the list of sustainability criteria that we have listed. So like we discussed, water, air, waste. There's about 49, I believe there's 49 elements to the checklist. You just have to meet 25. So if you can check off at least 25 of the items on that checklist, that will help you in getting into the program. So once we receive all that information, our office, Policy and Sustainable Practices, will review that application, we'll review your data, and we'll review the checklist. And during that time, we're actually going to do a TDEC internal compliance check. So what that is we will check within the Department of Environment and Conservation just to ensure that there's no outstanding regulatory issues within your facility. This is something that we just need to do because we don't want a producer having some outstanding issues become a member. It just wouldn't cross right. So that's just an internal check. And like I said, our program is free to any producer. So the Office of Policy and Sustainable Practices, I kind of want to emphasize this now that we're talking about compliance. Our office is a non-regulatory office. So anything you do with us is on the non-regulated side. We have no power in telling you what to do. In this program, there's requirements, but that, it's strictly volunteer. Once we receive all that information, we will continue on to do an on-site visit. And with this on-site visit, we're pretty much just going over the checklist with the producer. We'll go over the items that you checked, and we may have some outstanding questions. We'll verify those checks on the checklist, so we'll do a walkthrough of the facility. It's not super in-depth. It's nothing related to compliance. We're just wanting to see if we want to verify what's going on the checklist. And usually that can help us also identify items that you may not have checked, and we can add additional checks to that checklist. During that site visit, we'll be taking notes on everything we see. And from that, we'll go back, compile all the data that you submitted previously, go over the checklist, and then we will produce a sustainability report. With that sustainability report, we'll cover everything that was covered on the checklist. We'll review your data, and that data will, will actually produce showing you how many. So if you produce if we get your water utility data, we'll compare that to your production data, and we can show you. It may take so many gallons of water to produce a gallon of beer or a gallon of whiskey. And that's just showing you, that's a way to normalize the data. So if you ever expand, that ratio is still a way to compare yourself to what's going on nationally and internationally. And we'll show that in the report where you stand. So the sustainability report is the main thing that we'll get back to you. And with that, if everything verifies and goes through that, with that sustainability report, you'll also get a letter of acceptance. So some of the members we have right now, we have Jackalope, who will be talking later today. Bailey with Jackalope will be talking. We have Tennessee Distilling, Keg Springs Winery, Short Mountain Distilling, and Life is Brewing. It was originally the Mantra location, and we're currently working with them to get the new facility there in Murfreesboro up and certified. We had a pilot program early on, and with that pilot program, we were able to build out the program we have today. So the pilot feedback and internal reviews pretty much made what the program is today. And even with new members, we're always looking for feedback. So we would hope to get on an annual basis feedback on the program and see if there's anything we can improve, because we want to make sure this program is for the producers and it's a way for them to have an added benefit to their program and a way for them to improve what they're doing. So we want to make sure this is something that they're proud of and they can use in a beneficial way. Members have access to the Tennessee Sustainable Spirit team. So once you get that report, we'll have a long list of recommendations. Or may not be long. You may be doing some great things. There's just a short list that you may have. But with that, you'll get free technical assistance. So if you want to pursue any of the recommendations we've listed, we can actually help and do some of that technical assistance for you to help you get to where you want to be. And like I said, the program is always continually improving, and it's always based on what the members need and the feedback they have on the program. So just a quick example, we're using Short Mountain Distillery here. So they're one of our first members. They were actually a pilot member to the program. Some of the things that they're doing over at their facility, they locally source a lot of their ingredients. They have some low-flow toilets and some faucet aerators. They have a really nice recycling program, especially being in rural Tennessee. It's impressive to see what they can do. Like if you see that picture on the right, they're turning some of their bottles into candles. So it's a innovative way to recycle some of their glass. In addition to that, they're managing their byproducts quite nicely. They have an on-site farm, so they're able to use that byproduct to feed their livestock. I kind of burned through this, but that's more or less what's going on with the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits program. If anyone has any questions, feel free to. We have a little bit of time for that, right, Caleb?
Yeah, and I failed to mention that if everyone's muted to reduce the amount of background noise, but there is a chat box feature that if you have any questions for Mark about the program or any of our amazing speakers that are coming up, feel free to send that in the chat box, and either I or Mark will ask those questions. And then everything is, this webinar is going to be recorded, and the slides will be sent out in a follow-up early next week. I just wanted to mention that. So,
thanks, Caleb. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot it in the chat box. And if you guys don't have any questions right now, we can go on to the next speaker. So should I just give it a few more seconds, Caleb?
What we can do is any questions that come in, we can sort of bring them to the end of the presentations. So you can go ahead and go.
Perfect. Okay. So let me bring this up real quick. So the speakers that we have today, we have Danny from US EPA ENERGY STAR. He will be talking about the ENERGY STAR program for distilleries. It's an up-and-coming program, so he'll be next up. After that, we have Sarah Beth Urban, the Executive Director from Tennessee Distillers Guild, and she'll be discussing, how producers are re-engaging with customers during this COVID crisis and plans for what's going to happen after. And after that, we have Bailey Spalding, and she'll be discussing something similar that Sarah Beth will be discussing. I'm going to move to the next slide, and we're going to introduce Danny with the US EPA ENERGY STAR program. So Danny is an industrial sector specialist with the US EPA's ENERGY STAR program, a voluntary government program that works with manufacturers to increase energy efficiency across their operations. Danny leads initiatives with several manufacturing sectors to identify best energy management practices and create benchmarking tools to improve sustainability through improved energy performance. Prior to EPA, Danny managed several environmental and agriculture projects for USAID and a municipal benchmarking initiative for the CT Green Bank. Danny is a certified energy manager and holds a master's in environmental management. So I think you are good to go, Danny.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, I think I was on mute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Danny McRae. I am with US EPA's ENERGY STAR program. Thank you very much, Mark and Caleb, for hosting the webinar today. And yeah, just hearing about the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits Initiative sounds like a really great program, holistic approach to sustainability. So what I'm going to do today is I'd like to talk to the folks on the call a little bit about why energy management is important for sustainability and important for distilleries. I'll then talk about what ENERGY STAR is, and most of the time I'm going to spend on talking about how ENERGY STAR can help you save money, help you save energy, and potentially get recognition for some of your sustainability efforts. So the first thing I'd like to cover briefly is, so I imagine some folks on this call, you are a still master, distillery owner or manager or quality control specialist. Why should you care about energy? Well, there are a number of reasons for this, but here are the top three. So the first is energy is one of the costs that you can control. Even though the utilities set rates on the amount that you would pay for electricity or natural gas, the total amount that you are using in your distillery is something that you can decrease through demand-side management and energy efficiency. Second, all companies have energy waste. So over here, you'll see an uninsulated pipe. It's pretty bad. So hopefully there are no examples like these at your distilleries, but oftentimes we find that a plant can very easily find 10 to 15% savings from just low cost and no cost solutions. So think about how much you spend on energy at your distillery. If you take 10% of that, that's something that you could probably shave off just from no cost or low cost solutions. And then finally, managing energy helps you achieve your environmental goals. So I imagine a lot of distilleries on this call may have carbon reduction or renewable energy goals, and working on energy efficiency can directly help you with both of these. So if you are using less fuel on site for heating or for mashing or distilling, you are emitting less. And also, if you happen to have a renewable energy goal to procure a certain percent of renewables, focusing on efficiency means that you would have to procure less for meeting that. And sustainability, I'm sure, is something that many people care about. That's why you dialed in today. And working with ENERGY STAR can help you communicate your sustainability story to your customers, which I know is, as we start engaging more customers as COVID goes down, something that you may want to consider. So this chart over here shows that ENERGY STAR brand recognition exceeds 90% consumer awareness and has a high degree of trust. It even has higher recognition and higher trust than the EPA that manages the program and Good Housekeeping, which administered the survey. So affiliating your brand, your company, with a brand that already has high recognition can help communicate that what you're doing is legit. So ENERGY STAR is a voluntary government program that was started in 1992 by the US EPA, and its goal is to reduce harmful air emissions. And it does this not through regulation or compelling companies to do things, but rather engaging them on a voluntary basis and offering opportunities to help them reduce their energy. So most people are probably familiar with ENERGY STAR through ENERGY STAR certified products. This is where you would maybe use an ENERGY STAR refrigerator or microwave, and you'll use less energy than a non-certified product. But that's only one area where we work. We also work directly with manufacturers to help them reduce energy in their plants. So that's what I work on, and it's what my colleagues and I work on. And our goal is really to help facilities companies improve their energy efficiency across their operations. So we work with auto manufacturers, and it takes about 1 megawatt hour to assemble a car. And what ENERGY STAR does is we work with manufacturers to figure out ways that they could make the same car using less energy. So we've worked with 750 companies over the last 20 years, both large and small, and we've worked with manufacturers of all types. We've worked with manufacturers all the way from dairies and commercial bakeries, all the way to big petroleum refineries. Now, even though we work with all manufacturers, there are some sectors that we work a little more closely on, and we develop specific resources to help them, and we call these our industrial focuses. So within industrial focuses, we try to facilitate best practice sharing around energy management that's specific for that industry. These show all the focuses that we have, and last year, as Mark said, we started a new focus that'll focus directly on distilleries. No, I said the word focus one too many times. But the purpose of this group is really to work with distilleries and provide a forum that'll help them learn ways that they could save energy within their distilleries. And we do this by facilitating best practice sharing. So one month, we may have one distillery talk about a heat reclamation project that they did. Another month, maybe a distillery is talking about recalibrating burners. So we're doing this through exchanging ideas among distilleries, and sometimes we may invite an outside expert as well. We do this on there's no cost to participate, and we have calls about 4 times a year. So the first thing that we're doing as this group is we're trying to develop a guide that will list the best practices for managing energy in your distilleries. So this will, if you have a distillery, this will hopefully help you identify ways that you could save. And even though we're going to be talking about heat reclamation, motors and drives, pumps, what we're really looking for right now are case studies. We could write about this all that we want, but we would really like to include examples of distilleries that are actually implementing energy saving measures already. So I'd like to have you just think briefly if you are doing any heat reclamation, if you are maybe capturing your CO2 from fermentation, if you have installed any VFDs, these are things that we would like to include in the guide. So you can email me. My email address will be at the end of the slides. It'll be a great way to show leadership within your industry. The second thing that we're currently developing within the group is a benchmarking tool. So this will help show you how efficient your distillery is to distilleries of similar sizes. So we know that there are distilleries both large and small, and you may manufacture different processes. The purpose of this tool is really to help you identify how efficient you are to distilleries that are like yours. And I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. So that's what we're doing within our distillery focus. And for the remainder of the call, what I'd like to do is tell you a few other ways ENERGY STAR could help you be more efficient and develop an energy management culture at your company. So this slide over here, I tried to put together a schematic of what I think would look familiar to you. My art skills aren't that great, but on the left we have the tun, and this is where everything ferments, where the juices start flowing, and this is what I'd consider participating in the ENERGY STAR distillery focus, the quarterly calls. It's a great opportunity to learn ideas from others and help push the needle within your company. And then all those creative juices are flowing into the still, and at different levels, there are different activities where you can participate in to help save energy. So there are 3 activities I'm going to highlight for the remainder of my time. At the lowest rung of the column, we have ENERGY STAR treasure hunts, and these help you identify energy saving opportunities within your distilleries. So if you haven't done much around energy, this is really a great place to start. Above that, we have the challenge for industry, which is where you will start implementing your energy savings measures. And finally, at the top, which is the most prized part of ENERGY STAR, is ENERGY STAR plant certification. This is where your plant demonstrates that it is one of the most efficient distilleries in the nation. So now we'll go into a little more detail of each of these and where to find more information. So first, I want you to think, what do pirates and ENERGY STAR have in common? So Mark, I'm going to one-up you on your joke at the beginning. We both like treasure hunts, and we both like searching for jewels, even though they're different kind of jewels. I'll move on. So Energy Star treasure hunts, again, the first rung of the ladder. Treasure hunts are simply a process for finding low-cost and no-cost energy savings at your plants. This may sound like an audit, but it is different. Again, it's focused on low cost and behavioral things that can be done to save energy rather than big capital investments. And another thing that's different about an audit is that treasure hunts are conducted by the staff at the plant rather than people from the outside. Again, since we're looking for low cost opportunities, these are things that people maybe who don't have an energy background may be able to help find. Another value for this is that because staff are doing this, there's more likely that there's going to be ownership and follow through with the reduction activities. So treasure hunts will be useful if you have sustainability commitments and want to help come up with ideas of how to meet them. And to do that, we have some guides on how to organize a treasure hunt. We also have treasure maps, which list opportunities for saving energy. We have a treasure map for manufacturing plants, and we just came out with a treasure map for craft breweries, which probably has a lot of relevance to distilleries. So even though you could do a treasure hunt on your own, what we are encouraging folks to do is to participate in the Find the Treasure campaign. And this is where if you conduct a treasure hunt at your facility, you will let us know what the savings were and some of the ideas, and then you could get recognized. So last year we had 145 treasure hunts, and this just shows you an example of some companies that participated. And if you do a treasure hunt, you'll get a certificate and you'll be featured on the website. So the next thing I want to talk about is the challenge for industry. The challenge is where you demonstrate a measurable reduction in your energy use. So it's a little higher than the treasure hunts. Treasure hunts, again, it's finding savings opportunities. Challenge is when you're actually going to start implementing them. So plants that participate in the challenge pledge to make a 10% reduction in their energy intensity within a 5-year period. There's no annual reporting to participate, and there's no penalty if you don't complete it. But the big draw for the challenge is that when you register for the challenge, you're going to have to think of an energy goal, and you're going to have to think of a metric that will help you figure out if you meet the goal. So it's a really great tool to help you get in the habit of tracking energy. The way it works is you would go to the website. You would say, I would like my distillery to participate in the challenge. You'd provide your baseline energy intensity, tell us what the goal would be, and then when you achieve it, you just need a professional engineer to validate the savings. And if you do participate, this just shows a few things that you receive. In addition to a certificate, we'll send a letter, EPA will send a letter to the CEO or plant manager that'll congratulate them on meeting this achievement. So we have over 1,200 plants that have participated to date, from motor vehicle plants. We have a few breweries that have participated. We don't have any distilleries. So it'll be really great to get the first distillery in sometime soon. So the last thing I want to talk about is ENERGY STAR plant certification. So this is at the top of the still. It's where it's the most potent activity. It's what you're really aiming for. So ENERGY STAR plant certification is when your distillery is one of the most efficient distilleries in the country. Just like we would certify a product, we also certify buildings. To be an ENERGY STAR certified facility, I'll tell you briefly how that happens. We're currently working on the benchmarking tool to determine whether a plant is in the top quartile or not. But when it is developed, it'll look something like this. It'll be an Excel spreadsheet, and you would enter some characteristics about your distillery, such as how much you produce, what you produce, whether you're buying any neutral grain spirits or you're distilling them directly. You'll then put in your energy use, and the model will calculate what a distillery of your profile should use for energy based on the data that we have. And if you score a 75 out of 100 or higher, you would then be eligible for certification. And if you are a certified plant, you'll receive a few of the things I mentioned before, a certificate, letter to the CEO, but you'll also be put on the ENERGY STAR website. So this concludes my presentation. I'd just like to leave you with 3 things. First, understand that energy is a controllable cost. It is possible to save energy without capital investments. Second, consider joining the ENERGY STAR focus for distilleries and take advantage of some of the ENERGY STAR recognition opportunities along the way. So if you have any questions about this or would like to participate in one of these, you can email me, and here's my email. All right, so thank you very much, Mark.
Awesome. Thanks very much for that presentation, Danny. I think we are killing it on the joke side, so I think we're doing very good. That was a good start to this presentation. I don't think we have any questions in the chat, so I think we'll just continue. Ooh, I think. Yes, so I think we'll continue on. Next up, we have Sarah Beth Urban. She is the Executive Director of the Tennessee Distillers Guild, working with distilleries statewide to manage and grow the industry as well to promote the Tennessee Whiskey Trail. Her career in management and marketing began at Historic Rock Castle, a nonprofit house museum in Hendersonville, Tennessee, where she served as the Executive Director and worked alongside her staff and board to raise the profile of the museum and establish unique experiences for visitors. From there, she took a position with the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development to serve as the Middle Tennessee Division Manager. In this role, she assisted the 40 counties in her division with the marketing and development of their tourism assets to promote the state as a global destination for food, music, and one-of-a-kind experiences. She left the state after 3.5 years and began working for the Guild in October 2019. Sarah Beth is a Nashville native and proud graduate of MTSU, from which she earned a master's degree in public history. She currently serves as her neighborhood association chair and is on the board of Women in Numbers, a nonpartisan organization established to engage, encourage, and endorse qualified women to be elected to public office. She resides in the East Nashville with her husband, JP, an attorney with the Office of Tennessee Attorney General, and their 2 sons, James and Dominic. So I think you're good to go, Sarah Beth.
Great. Always weird when someone else reads your bio. Okay. I get that up and running. Okay, cool. All right, great. Thanks so much for having me today. Excited to be here and talk a little bit about how the Tennessee Distillers Guild is re-engaging with our customers during and hopefully one day after the pandemic. So I will just kind of jump in a little bit. Like my bio said, I started this position in October 2019. I was actually pregnant when I began, and I gave birth to my son Dominic on February 1st. And I came back after 5 weeks of maternity leave to a tornado and a pandemic. So it's definitely been a learning experience for me coming in and running this position and being involved with these distilleries during the time. So our customer engagement has definitely, we've had to shift focus significantly since the pandemic started. I'm going to focus on the 3 areas that we focus with our customers no matter what's going on. I'll kind of restart when the pandemic started. So the 3 ways that we really focus on engaging with our customers is at home, at the distilleries, and then online and through media. So I'll start with the at-home category. That is an area where we're always trying to engage with our customers because we want them to think about our products when they go to the liquor store or when they're at home making dinner. What are they going to have with dinner that night? How are they going to relax and enjoy some time with friends? So what you will see a lot of times on our social media pages, on our websites, things that we put out are cocktail recipes. to try to encourage people to experiment with the product they purchase and really think of ways that they can enjoy the product. A lot of times spirits can be a little intimidating to a novice. So someone may go to our distillery and purchase a bottle of whiskey, a bottle of gin, you know, whatever they enjoyed there. But then when they get home, you know, they may drink it straight a couple of times and then wonder, what else can I do with it? So that's why we really strive to provide those ideas, those cocktail ideas, so that, you know, anything from something that has a few ingredients into it to something that's a lot more advanced and uses different mixology terms. We just want to create a space for people to really explore with the product and enjoy it however they choose to do that, and definitely responsibly. So you'll see a lot of us encouraging them to create cocktails with it. Sometimes we'll put out ideas of what to eat with different spirits. So what you're going to enjoy with a gin might be different than what you're going to enjoy with a whiskey, with a vodka. Just kind of giving people ideas of, if you're making, you know, if you're making some, especially summertime right now, if you're making a summertime barbecue, what cocktail would go great with that? So again, just trying to get people to really think about our products when they're either going to the liquor store or when, you know, if they're actually ordering it online through like a Drizzly, a delivery service or something like that, trying to encourage them to think local as much as possible and use our products. The other big area, though, that we engage with our customers is at our distilleries. And that has probably been where we've seen the largest change since the pandemic started. When the pandemic first started and everything shut down, distilleries closed and stopped operating open at a retail store, so they could still operate their bottle shops in a similar way that a liquor store could. So you could see them doing things like limiting the amount of people in the store, doing like a door service, so people could walk up to the door and order, and then someone would bring their stuff to them into the facility. And then we also did some curbside service, which was people could order online or pull up to the place and someone could bring their order out to their car and put it in the trunk for them, check their ID and do all the payment there. So we definitely changed during the pandemic how we interacted with customers. But additionally, now that things are slowly reopening, we have to remember that we have a very wide variety of distilleries, not only in size, but also in location and in the different types of products they create. So what works for Jack Daniel's doesn't necessarily work for Nashville Craft in Nashville. In your rural areas, you're going to see, you know, less cases of COVID and a little bit more confidence in returning to normal, whereas in your major cities like Nashville, Memphis, and Chattanooga, there's still a lot of restrictions in place. Additionally, we have different types of product. In East Tennessee, you're going to find a lot more moonshine, whereas, you know, we've got huge brands like Jack Daniel's and George Dickel in kind of the South Central Tennessee area. So when people come to those places, we have to kind of adjust. So you're going to have a lot more visitors at Jack Daniel's. So they are not actually, they have not reopened yet, but are looking at, you know, the procedures, what can they offer to customers. They have to be very careful with how many people they allow on site. Whereas a lot smaller places like H. Clark in Thompson Station, they're not seeing, you know, hundreds of thousands of people on a yearly basis. So he can have a much more personal experience with people and really focus on providing a safe environment for them. The number one thing we've reiterated with our distilleries over and over again, and this is something I find that's really important with any business, you know, distillery, winery, whatever you are, it's whatever guidelines you have put in place for your business to follow, that you've put out there for your customers, so that when they come there, they know what to expect. Make sure you are following those. That is huge. We've seen it several times. In particular, I just think of airlines, just because that was such a big story about some of the airline companies that came out and said they were going to do social distancing, and then when people got on the plane, there was not an opportunity to do that. So what you need to do is make sure whatever guidelines you have decided to follow those to a T, so that when people get there, they know what to expect and they trust you. I would say it's just making sure it's kind of interesting. The feedback that we've gotten from our distilleries is that first wave of people that came out to the distilleries after everything had reopened weren't too concerned. They usually weren't wearing masks. They would use the hand sanitizer and follow the guidelines, but they were ready to get out and get back to normal and didn't have any concerns. This second wave of people that are going to start coming out once more restrictions are lifted are going to be a lot more cautious. They're going to be a lot more concerned about what guidelines you're following. So if you can take the Tennessee pledge that has been put out by the Economic Recovery Task Force, if you have a if you're in a big city or your local government has done a pledge of their own. I think Nashville's is called Good to Go. I think Memphis has one in place, but I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But doing those pledges can just assure your customers one more time that when they get there, they're going to feel safe and that you're following as many guidelines as you can. Obviously not everyone is able to grab hold of those thermometers and check every person that comes in the door. And it may just not be feasible for your business, but whatever you can do, just make sure that the guidelines that you put out that you're following. And that's been a big bonus for us, is just ensuring that. We also, because of what distilleries can do, when the pandemic first started, a lot of us pivoted to producing hand sanitizer. So it is a product that's readily available in all of our distilleries. I believe there are hand sanitizer stations at the front doors of all of our distilleries. A lot of them have incorporated it into the tasting aspect. So not that they're tasting it, but that as they come up, they line up and literally just go down the line and squirt hand sanitizer in everyone's hands. And there's no more direct contact between the bartender and the visitors. And that helps people, again, just feel a little bit more confident. They dispose of their own cups at the end, so there's not risk of contaminating the bartender who has to throw everything away. And that's definitely been an area that I think that we're going to look at for sustainability in the long term if we have to keep using these small plastic cups like this. Mainly because we're going to be producing and using so many of them during the way that if we can find ways to recycle or do something to prevent that from really stacking up, I think that's something that we're definitely going to be looking at. Because right now, the safest way for us to have tastings at our distilleries is by using disposable plastic cups and then having the customer dispose of it as they leave. So that is our in-house or at the distillery experience. The other big way we're engaging with our customers, though, is online and through social media and podcasts, actually. So online, as I mentioned, we'll put out a lot of cocktail recipes on our website. We're really pushing those. We're also creating new itineraries that we can put up on our website. So one thing that we've heard kind of in the travel market right now is that folks are looking at more of a driving vacation. Obviously, not everyone feels comfortable getting on an airplane. Not everyone feels comfortable going very far from home. So kind of the weekend road trip or a day trip out of town, that's kind of been the new focus for folks. So we're putting together itineraries that really highlight our distilleries, but also the destinations that they're in. So when people drive to, we've talked about Short Mountain on here because they've been a part of the program. Short Mountain is just outside of Woodbury, which is close to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is kind of, for those of you who may not know, it's a mid-sized town outside of Nashville. It's a perfect location for a day trip or a weekend trip. Folks can, drive down to Murfreesboro, eat on the square, go to, there's a greenway there if they want to get outside. There's a national battlefield, Stones River National Battlefield. Then they can drive down a little bit further to Short Mountain, do some antiquing in downtown Woodbury. And then there's also 2 breweries in that area, Hot Springs and Mayday. So again, it's about pulling in additional destinations or additional attractions as part of your itineraries, especially like a driving one, so that folks can spend an entire day doing something. A lot of times we only think of our distillery or brewery or winery as like the ultimate destination, but people can't spend more than an hour or so there. They're not going to spend a lot of time driving there either. So if you can find more things for them to do with their time, it's going to be really helpful. And that's something that we're focusing on with our new itineraries that we're going to put out. we then share those on all of our social media channels. We work with all of our different distilleries to put out information about them. What are their new hours? How are they operating? Are they open? Are they doing bottle sales? Are they doing tours? Things like that. And then the other kind of, side media that we're doing is podcasting. A lot of folks are listening to podcasts right now, and there's several out there that are designed very specifically for the spirits industry. So one that's local for us is Dad's Drinking Bourbon. There's Bourbon and Blondes, Bourbon Pursuit. I could go through the list, but if you just go on any podcasting app and type in bourbon or whiskey, about 1,000 podcasts will pop up. So we're really working with the company, though, to interview our distilleries and talk about the stories behind why they're there, the products that they have, and we're working to get the stories out right now while people are at home. And again, it's about reminding people when they go to the liquor store or when they're looking for something to do to remember our distilleries and remember that we're an option for not only, drinking a cocktail at home, but also getting out and visiting, especially once things start reopening. So that's kind of our focus. I'm trying to look and make sure I didn't forget anything. But do we have any questions pop up?
I haven't seen any.
Okay.
So I was just checking. So thank you. That was a great presentation, Sarah Beth.
Thanks. Yeah. And just holler at me if you've got any questions. Like I said, we kind of tailor everything to fit. We are not a one-size-fits-all organization. We have a very wide range of distilleries in this state. So we kind of cater to everybody and try to make sure we cover all 26 distilleries on the Tennessee Whiskey Trail.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, we'll move on to the next presentation here. So we have Jackalope. I was just noticing, so I'm still fairly new to using WebEx, and I just realized how ruthless WebEx is. Like, it calls out attendees on if they're not paying attention. So I didn't know WebEx was so savage, but y'all don't worry. I'm not actually reading who's not. I mean, I'm sure everyone's listening because this is some great information. Well, let's move on. We're going to move on to Bailey Spalding with Jackalope Brewing. Bailey is the co-founder and CEO of Jackalope Brewing in Nashville, Tennessee. Bailey was born and raised in I'm not even going to try that. Vermont. I'm sure Bailey can help me with that. She graduated from Harvard in 2004 with a degree in biological anthropology, my God, before moving to Nashville to attend Vanderbilt Law in 2006. It was in law school that Bailey discovered the world of homebrewing and found her passion for writing her own recipes. She quickly set her sights to opening her own brewery. Upon graduating, she began working on Jackalope and opened the brewery in 2011. After outgrowing the original facility, Jackalope opened a second location in Nashville in 2018. When not at Jackalope, Bailey spends her time with her husband, Luke, baby girl, Zephyr, and spotty dog, Ricky.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
Awesome. I'm from Montpelier, Vermont.
Thank you so much for that.
The smallest state capital in the country. Some trivia for you. But yeah, thanks, Mark, and it's been really great listening to everyone. And Sarah Beth, it was interesting hearing some of the same ways that the distilleries and we as a brewery are kind of reaching out to people and pivoting during this pandemic. So the first thing we kind of did, I think the Safer at Home order, was issued on March 15th, which, resulted in a temporary closure of both of our tap rooms. So we have, prior to the pandemic, we had our original location and our new location both open. They're about 1.5 miles from each other. And so we, closed the tap rooms for on-site, but we were still allowed to do, to go and curbside. And, thanks to the emergency regulation by the National Beer Board, we're allowed to deliver, which that has to do not with our brewing license, but with our on-site beer license. So anybody, whether it's a brewery or a restaurant, has been able to and will be able to deliver beer at least through July 21st, excuse me, 21st, 31st? July 31st this year. Again, it really was something that, you know, thinking about if you're a restaurant and someone, you know, was ordering some burgers to go, they could also get a 6-pack or a growler. And it was really going to help so that when places did start to reopen, they didn't have 3-month-old beer sitting in their coolers, you know, letting everybody kind of go through that stock so that we didn't have kind of some awkward interactions with not knowing what to do with out-of-date product. So I think that's gone really well. And again, you know, I think the Beer Board was really aware that it wasn't like, oh, you know, we're now in phase 1, restaurants can open, you know, everybody's going to be doing great. It's going to take a while for those on-site businesses to bounce back. So keeping that delivery and curbside option going has been really helpful. But again, you know, when we were figuring out how we were going to approach this, it was, you know, safety and ease of use. So we incorporated the online purchasing in our website. So again, it's totally contactless. People can place their orders for delivery or pickup, or if they want it to be curbside, just let us know, you know, when they're outside, they just give us a call and we run their beer out. In the beginning, it was a lot more deliveries. Now that people tend to be either back to work or just out and about a little bit more, it's definitely skewed towards more people coming to pick up. And then we've made our tap room, just one of our tap rooms available for people who just want to come, you know, if you're not ordering online, you just want to come pick up beer, really just on the weekends. And so that's been, you know, pretty effective for us. Again, you know, we're not nearly doing the business that we normally would be, but we're doing more than I thought we would be on March 16th. So that's kind of been our way of riding this out. We also found new ways to engage with new actual consumers. So again, I'm from Vermont. There are 7 states that allow direct-to-consumer shipping from breweries. And I can't name the others off the top of my head, but if you are interested in knowing what they are, I have it written down somewhere. And so people from Vermont can place an order. The one thing with direct to consumer is you have to find a shipping partner as well. So we use UPS because it has to be signed for. You know, you have to kind of state that it's alcohol and it has to be signed for by someone over 21 when they deliver it. And again, beer is different than wine, is different than liquor. You know, a lot of states you can have direct to consumer shipping for wine, but beer is much less. So kind of again trying to look through all these things that we're doing through that sustainable eye. We use whale pods, which is this cool shipping box designed for shipping beer cans, or I guess really at any cans, but you know, really I think beer is the most shipped. They're reusable and 100% recyclable, and they're pretty neat. They're pretty slick. So that's been a great way that again we're able to reach some new consumers. We're probably going to actually add some of the other states. Just Vermont is full of people that know Jackalope and already are inclined to support us. Everybody makes fun of me because every time we get an order from Vermont, 9 times out of 10 I know the person because that is the way that state is. But that's, again, kind of finding new ways to engage existing customers and then finding new customers has been a way that we've kind of approached it. We've also had new offerings. So, our draft beer sales, which are the majority of our sales, dropped 95% overnight. I honestly don't know who was still buying draft beer during this time, but our can sales went up a little bit because everybody was buying beer in grocery stores, but our draft beer sales essentially disappeared. So during what's normally our very busiest time of the year, we found ourselves with a lot of time on our hands. So as a way of keeping ourselves creatively thinking and kind of satisfied, and giving ourselves something to focus on and to really just help our community, giving them something to look forward to, we've been releasing a different small batch canning run almost every week. So I think including the one that is going to be not this weekend, but next weekend, we are going to have done 9 different new small batch beers, which has been really fun. Again, something to kind of distract people. We also have been using them as a way of kind of continuing our commitment to the community, donating a portion of the proceeds from some of them to different nonprofits. So the Pangea Proxima that you see up on the screen, we are donating a portion of the proceeds to the Believe in Beer Fund, which is helping breweries that are really struggling through this pandemic. The Passionate Pigeon, which we sold out in one day last weekend. We are donating a portion of the proceeds to Color Change. And the release, it says this weekend, we had to push it back to next weekend. We have a really fun beer coming out next weekend, and we're donating a portion of the proceeds to Nashville Pride. So again, that's a way of, being a very small part of just trying to do what we can in our community when a lot of the things that we normally do, be it neighborhood cleanups or events for nonprofits, a lot of those things we can't do right now. So kind of just finding a way to continue that commitment even though we're so out of our element. And the other thing is, these small batch brew releases, we've been wanting to find a time to do these for years, and we just again, haven't had time. We thought that maybe we would be able to do 6 this year. Again, we've done 9 in 3 months. So that is something that is going to continue now that we've really learned how to do it. That's going to continue, when the beautiful future when COVID-19 is a distant memory. And then, of course, we're now actually today, literally this minute, it is noon. We are opening one of our tap rooms. Again, our newer location that is on Houston Street, we have a pretty large patio there. And so we decided that we would feel comfortable opening the patio Again, we're just doing very limited hours. It's just Friday through Sunday. You know, again, with that #1 priority, just wanting people to feel safe and comfortable. You know, I think you want there to be some form of normalcy, but also I think people really appreciate seeing that that we're taking it seriously, that we take their safety and our safety very seriously. So we have the tables distanced 10 feet apart. Everybody has to be seated. You know, it's not, you know, a lot of times at breweries, people kind of mill around. We can't have that going right now. You know, all of our staff is wearing masks. We have hand sanitizer coming out of our ears. And, you know, taking every step that we can to make it comfortable, but also very safe for everybody. And one of the things that Sarah Beth brought up too was the issue with having disposable cups, which we're doing as well. But ours are compostable. So again, if anybody is interested, I don't know if they do like the small sample sizes or like for tasting at distilleries. But we do have a brand that we work with that has compostable, and they even have the Jackalope logo on them, but they have compostable cups. So again, we're able to kind of get people beer in the safest fashion and put our sustainable lens on it as well. So it's not just a ton of waste that we would, you know, otherwise feel really uncomfortable with. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you all so much. I'm not sure where the questions would be, but I don't think I see any.
We got one. Y'all delivered to DC?
I wish. DC is one of the places that allows direct to consumer, and so we actually probably will be adding that pretty soon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Looking forward to that.
Sure, yeah, we'll let you know.
Great.
And actually, I actually have some questions that people have sent to me, Mark.
Awesome.
We're a little over time, but I want to go through them real quick. Just, you know, your comment about seeing people that aren't, a lot of people said totally listening and working. A lot of people were saying that. So
no, I don't blame them. I figured that's what most people are doing.
So we had a question that says, have you run into resistance? This is for you, Mark. Have you run into resistance on the compliance checks? In other words, like a reluctance to allow state regulators in to look around?
Well, on the compliance check, we're not actually having state regulators going through a facility. All we're doing is reaching out to our Office of General Counsel, and they can see if there are any outstanding issues within a facility. If there's no outstanding issues, then we're good to go and move forward. It's not like we're asking a regulator to walk through a facility and check out everything. It's just if there's something that's currently going on or something that happened in the past, that's all we're checking out for. And if there was an issue and it's been resolved, that's perfect. And if there is an issue, we still want to work with y'all to get you back into compliance because, you know, we are the Department of Environment and Conservation, and compliance is what we're all about. So we would love to help you get to where you need to be.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So I don't know who could answer this, but it says, just wondering what the breakdown is for Tennessee spirits industry. You have 26 distilleries, but how many microbreweries? I don't know if you
That brewery list is constantly growing. Last time I checked, you know, I just sent an email out to all y'all. So if you're one of those breweries, I'm sorry if I've blown you up all these past few weeks. We're getting pretty up there. I don't have the list on me right now. I'm actually looking at it right now. We're close to a little over 100. So we're growing. I know the Brewers Association is constantly updating that. I don't know if Bailey's looked at it at all, but it's something that yeah, we're in the hundreds, and we're probably going to be, I don't know what's going to happen after COVID, but we're in the hundreds right now.
Awesome. It says, are spirits producers on time of use rates, or are any shifting production to peak shave? Any operational changes to save energy? So I don't know if you know the answer to that.
I can jump in, and if Daniel knows anything, he can jump in as well. But it all depends on the size of the facility and depends on where you are. You know, we only have a couple large, and also, you know, anyone who's in there can jump in as well. Everyone's looking at it, but it mainly depends on the size. If you're running into that, other than that, a lot of the smaller ones aren't. It's usually, you know, down to a similar account that you would have for a small business.
Yeah, one thing that we encourage during treasure hunts, mentioned this is sort of like an audit, but it's conducted by staff. It's a walkthrough of the distillery to find for low-cost, no-cost energy savings opportunities. Sometimes if you go in during non-operational hours, you'll be surprised some things that are left on, some things that could be changed. So one thing I would encourage that speaker to do is go to EnergyStar.gov/treasure hunt and take a look at the microbrewery treasure map, and that should have some other ways that your plant could save energy.
Awesome. Yeah, and then just had some comments that said, I love the small batch idea. Also now furiously Googling what you've got this week so I can get some. So great input for everyone. And then the last question just said, how many people at the department work on this program? And then in parentheses it says FTE, and then it also says, are they engineers? So I don't know if it's asking about the Sustainable Spirits program or if it's asking about Energy Star.
Well, for Sustainable Spirits program, there's 3 or 4 of us moving in and out. We're all doing other programs as well. So this is one of my larger programs that I oversee. But a couple of us within the Office of Policy and Sustainable Practices oversees what we have going on, and most of that budget's going through it with our pollution prevention grant.
Yeah, and
sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, for Energy Star, I'm the lead for Energy Star for Distilleries, but I support other sectors as well. And outside of me, we have a few other specialists. So we have partners at Duke University who help develop our benchmarking models using census data. We have consultants who have worked within manufacturing companies before, who have been energy managers, who are available to work one-on-one with our partners.
That I forgot to mention that as well. We also partner with MTSU, their fermentation science program, so they've been helping a lot. We also partner with some nonprofits for some additional, you know, resources. We just got our first intern just a couple weeks ago through MTSU, and they're doing a lot of help and support as well.
Awesome. That's all the questions.
Awesome. Well, I thank everybody for attending this webinar, and it should be up maybe next week, Caleb, the recorded version.
Yeah, I'm working on putting a new, we usually will hold it on the WebEx site, but I'm trying to get it on YouTube so there'll be less link breaks, if you know what I mean. With WebEx holding it on this application, sometimes the links are so long and they change that YouTube's just going to be better. But so I'll definitely send out the presentation early next week, and hopefully we'll get that link to everyone. If not early next week, it'll be by middle or late next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Caleb, and thank everybody else for attending.
Thank you for hosting.